Welcome to The Walk-In, a podcast where doors stay open and stories unfold one conversation at a time. Hosted by Christopher Michael Sean, author, poet, actor, and lifelong student of people and purpose. Here, you're more than just a listener. You're part of the room, part of the story. In every episode, someone sits down, breathes deep, and shares what drives them, what keeps them moving, and what keeps them dreaming. This is a space for dreamers, doers, and those still finding their way. So pull up a chair, pour something warm, and let's take a walk into the soul.
So the way that this works is as soon as the call starts, I hit record and we just start talking. We're hanging out, we're chilling, and we just talk about, like, what are your inspirations? What are your dreams? What are your ambitions? For Joey, I remember whenever we did Joey's episode,
Both of them.
Joey, talked about, the fact that he doesn't really know, like, where he wants to go, what he wants to do. So the idea of this episode initially as well is to talk to him about, like, Joey, have you come up with anything? Have you found an inspiration? Have you found a meaning? And I have an interesting question, and maybe this will be good for conversation as well. Is
Yep.
what inspires you? What motivates you to get up every day? Because, like, for me,
Oh, you cut out.
1 second.
Rip. This feels like the last episode. Like you had this problem with Discord in the last
can't hear
episode
you.
with his
Hold on.
latest guest.
I can't hear anything you guys are saying.
Yeah, you just
There we
there you
go.
go. Now
Yeah,
we
you
can hear
cut
you.
out.
You went
It made,
silent for like 30 seconds.
it made me think of the last episode that got published.
Oh, that's because it's using the wrong fucking microphone. Thank you for saying something.
Oh shit.
It's using my headset microphone. Well, the good news is the recording software is using the right microphone, so that's good. So anyways, what an inspiration for me has been, like, what keeps me going, what keeps me getting up in the morning, is really just like how I have started to define life. Because for a lot of people, life is progress, life is growth, life is, moving forward and doing something and being something. Like, if you're not making some sort of movement every week, every day, every hour, then you consider yourself to be a failure. And it also especially depends on the culture, because there's cultures all around the world where if you're not doing enough, then you're a failure. If you're not married by a certain age, if you're not successful by a certain age, and they also have different definitions for success, then you're considered a failure. For me, even just getting up in the morning is a success, and getting to work on time, even if I'm late, at least I got to work, and because if we redefine success, if we redefine life, and I do think it's based on the individual as well. I think each of us has our own definition of life. There are 8 billion people on the planet, so there are 8 billion different definitions of life. 8 billion different definitions of success, and I think every single one of them is true because it's true for that one person, true for that one individual. So my question for you guys would be, what is something that motivates you? What is something that inspires you to keep going? Because life is insane, the world is crazy, and for a lot of people, it's hard to just keep going, to keep moving forward. And that's what the podcast, you ask for the purpose of the podcast. It is literally to keep moving forward, to keep walking forward. So my question for you guys is, what inspires you to keep moving forward?
Which one of us do you think should answer first?
You can answer first, Joey. Go ahead.
Okay. I feel like what keeps me moving forward is just knowing where I stand and knowing where I want, like, what I want to improve on, like like when it comes to driving, I want to get better at not cutting corners or overshooting corners, or, like, if I'm doing this with parallel parking, I want to get better at this, like not being crooked and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, and I love that. I love that, like, what drives you to be successful is the idea of the tiny victories. I think for me, I can definitely agree with that. It's like one of my favorite analogies, like the mountain analogy. You know, we're all on a mountain range. We all have our summits, valleys, and peaks, and you know, we have our highs, we have our lows, and we have our plateaus. You know, and in our plateaus, because a lot of times it feels like we're stagnant. It feels like we're just in an empty, barren, straight, flat field. And, you know, we don't know if we're going in the right direction. We don't know if we're doing the right things, if we're saying the right things. You know, are we pursuing the right people, you know? And I think that having that mentality of, like, you know, the tiny victories, of saying, you know,
Yep.
I don't have to be perfect every single day, but every single day I can strive to be better, you know. So whether it's with driving or whether if it's with your job or even like with this podcast, you know, um, even and this is something that helped me work out. Whenever I first started working out, it was very daunting to, like, you're walking into a gym full of a bunch of people that are muscly and sweaty and very much so fit, and you're just like, well, I'm a fucking fat guy walking into this mess. Like, how am I going to motivate myself? And it quite literally is, I call it the rule of 10. If you can sit down on a machine, even if you don't know how to use it, I didn't know how to use half of those machines, but you sit down on a machine and you watch somebody else use it, and you're like, okay, and then you sit down and you just do 10, just 10, you know. At first it was the 10 of 10, so 10 of 10 pounds, 10 of this, 10 of that, you know. 10 minutes of running, ten minutes of this, 10 of that, 10 of this. And what happened is, you know, you're filling up an hour's worth of workout with 10 of this, 10 of that, 10 of this, 10 of that, 10 of this. And you feel successful because you were able to get through 10 minutes. Even if you sucked at it, you tried, you know? And I think that a bit of an evolution for your mentality, Joey, is, you know, bringing up that, you know, hey, we're gonna look at not just whenever we do have that growth, but whenever we don't. Because, like I've said, failure is a necessary milestone on the pathway to success. You don't learn how to ride a bike until you've fallen off a few times. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I do think that's important, and I really do. I love that. I love that definition. Now, Joey, if I had to ask you, what is your definition of life? If you could define life in just 3 words, what would they be?
Just 3 words, I'd say life is definitely um, just living by your own standards. I know that's more than 3 words.
No, living by standards. No, I like that. Living by standards. That's nice. That's good.
Or
Um,
being the best you can be,
yeah, yeah.
quoting my high school history teacher.
Nice, nice, nice. All right, so we'll shift it over to you, boss man. So what inspires you to get up every day? What motivates you to
Um,
keep going?
so I know for me, to motivate me to get up, I want to be a good example for my son. I want to show him, like, you know, how he should be when he grows up. You know, putting his best foot forward.
That's
And also,
phenomenal.
like Joey was saying, trying to improve on every little detail that you can.
Yeah, no, exactly. And honestly, I think having, because I don't have kids personally, but I know a lot of people have told me that, like, whenever you have kids, it's like a gear shift, and you're like, I want to be better for him to show him how to be good himself. You know, I think children can be the greatest motivation, and like, okay, yesterday I was at work, and there was a little kid who kept saying that 6'7" thing. I don't even know what that is, but he kept saying 6'7", 6'7", and I was being a bad example, and I was kind of chiming in on it as well. And his mom was kind of staring at me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm being a bad example. I'm sorry." Like, but they were laughing. They loved it. But uh, but I don't even know what 6'7" even means. I'm gonna be honest with you. But no, it's I think that whenever you have a kid, I mean, I was just around a kid and I instantly wanted to be better. But you know, having a kid and you're like, hey, this is the continuation of my legacy of my life. You know, you want to see them succeed more than you've succeeded, and your life. And I think that there's really like a lot of beauty in that, especially like being a parent is rough as it is, because we're all still learning how to exist. And then, boom, now you have someone else who's younger than you and that you have to lead who's also learning how to exist. Um, it sounds daunting to me, but it also sounds inspiring because it sounds like you have a little ball of joy that's inspiring you and motivating you to be better every single day. If you ever doubt yourself, you're just like, I might have messed up, but I'm gonna be better for him. And honestly, I'm kind of jelly. I'm kind of jealous that you have that. Because for me, it's quite literally, it's just self momentum for me. It's just going, today's another day. We're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna do something. Like it's really it's really tough, for sure, to be rocking it solo. All I have is a cat. I've got my cat, and that's it. So, um, but yeah, that's
Would being
awesome,
better for your associates count?
huh?
Would being better for your coworkers count too?
Yeah, I would think so. Like,
For
yeah,
sure.
being better for your friends, being better for
Yep.
your coworkers, and
Yep.
stuff like that for sure. I think as a manager, I think something that I every single day I'm like, how can I be good for my associates? How can I be good for the people that look up to me? And I think one of the best things is, and I know you've seen it, uh, it, because we don't want to say the company name because then we're all screwed. But um, I am very good at de-escalation. I'm very good at conflict resolution, and I'm very good at staying calm under pressure, especially whenever a
Yep.
customer might be a little bit verbal and sometimes a little
Yep.
bit saliva-y towards me.
Yep.
Um, and I'm very good at like stepping in, especially like if there's an associate, that's needs help because there's a customer who might be a little bit frustrated. I've mastered the class of being that manager that steps in. I'm the super calm, quiet manager, the one who lingers and does get stuff done for sure. But then, man, whenever I need to step in and be that guard dog, I'm I'm a really good guard dog. Um, I'm calm. I don't raise my tone, and I think honestly, those are my proudest moments at work. Is whenever I'm able to do that for my associates, because not only do my associates feel like listened to, they feel cared for, they feel motivated to keep working, but I'm also able to keep the customer calm and kind of most of them probably want to come back because they're like, okay, cool, like he handled that well. Most of them
Yep.
apologize. Like I've had a lot of them come back and they're like, hey, I'm sorry, and I'm like, no, 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 hey, I'm sorry, for your bad experience, you know.
Yep.
Um, because the thing is there like in any sort of situation, there's no good or bad. The situation is just bad, or so there's no good or bad person. There's a good or bad situation, and you can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you react to it. So I think that that's something that they also taught in like managerial training. The 2 weeks that I was out of town, they actually put you through some training. That's something they taught. Um, but yeah, I think for me, yeah, my motivation is a lot of what both of you said. I want to be better for those around me. I want to be actually with the son thing. I want to be good for my future kids. If I ever do have kids, I want to be able to sit down with them and tell them everything that I've been through, and I want to be a motivation for them. I want this podcast to be a legacy that they can look back on. I want everything that I do, every breath that I take, for my children to someday read about it, see it, and go, hey, that guy, he went through a lot and he learned a lot, and that was my father. You know, even with my niece and nephew, like I don't ever really get to talk to them because my sister, she doesn't want anything to do with me. Um, that's a story for another time, though. Anyway, anyways, um, but yeah, she doesn't want to talk to me, so I don't get to talk to my niece and nephew. But I would love for my niece and nephew, who are like 10 years old, to someday look at this podcast or run into it, or it's something, and be like, wow, like that's my uncle, like that's awesome. Because they do know I exist. Thankfully, I met them once, which was nice. Um, but yeah, I think for me, yeah, it's a lot of looking forward to being a motivation, inspiration for the youth, for the younger ones that might look up to me and might be my legacy someday. And It's also like what you said, Joey, of I want to be better every single day. And that's actually, honestly, that is the number one way that I've stayed motivated, is just going, okay, well, at the end of every day, I go, okay, well, what did I do today that was a success? Every day is a finish line. So what was my finish line? You know? Like yesterday, what was my finish line? Well, I steam cleaned the carpets. I got the carpets shampooed and they smell good. That sounds dumb. It sounds simple. But if every single day, at the end of the day, sit down with yourself, give yourself a finish line, give yourself a high five, and be like, this is what I did today. Because you're going to think like, oh, I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, or I could have done this, or I could have, should have, would have, whatever. Don't look at that. That's the negativity. That's the corruption that's going to get you into a depressive mood for months. But if every single day you can ignore that, and it's hard, it's difficult, but if you can, and you think about that finish line, that is truly, truly, truly a definition of, life, is
Or maybe, or maybe you could,
find your finish line. That's 4 words,
or, may,
technically.
or maybe instead of ignoring it, like using it as fuel for future success.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a balancing act, because basically how you shift how I do at least, is whenever those thoughts, because they do come, and you're right, ignoring it is a lot like allowing a river to get blocked up. It's like your chakra is getting blocked every time you ignore the negativity. So you are correct in that. Yeah, absolutely. Instead of ignoring it, you can use it. But you do want to balance that. You want to be safe with it, because if you let it all in, that's going to corrupt you. If you ignore it, that's going to corrupt the river. So there is a bit of a balance there. And the way that I did it was, I'd wake up and I'd be like, man, I feel fat, I feel awful, I feel ashamed. And then I would turn right back around and I would go, but I'm going to do better. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go find reasons to be proud of myself. I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that. And then I actually go and do those things. I think the first step is honestly reversing it mentally and telling yourself like every day you're like, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly. Go up to the mirror. Every morning whenever you brush your teeth, go up to the mirror and be like, I'm a beautiful motherfucker. I'm beautiful. I am handsome. I am great. Every single day, even if you don't believe it. And eventually you still might not believe it, but your mentality will shift. It will. I'm telling you right now, it's basic psychology. Now you also want to watch out as well, because this is where the balance comes in. Because too much of that, I don't know. I was told this story recently by a psychologist, was the story of Narcissus, which basically he would look into a lake every single day, and he would start falling in love with himself until eventually he leaned down into the water to try and kiss himself, and he ended up drowning. And where he drowned, a flower came up, and it was called a narcissist flower, where basically if you every single day you're like, I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, I'm perfect, whatever, eventually you could develop something like narcissism, where you think you are literally the shit. None of us are perfect. It is human. A lot. I've been asked before. How do you battle being so, how do you battle being so imperfect? And it wasn't an insult. It was just they were wanting insight. They're like, I feel imperfect. How do you battle that? I was like, because you have to change your definition of perfection. And I talked about this in one of my podcast episodes. Was the definition of perfection has always been non-human, because to be human, you have to be imperfect. So change your definition of perfection. Perfection is to be human. To be human is to be imperfect. So to be perfect, you have to be imperfect. There you go. So that's how I did it. So I started looking at my flaws differently and going, this is actually what makes me perfect. This is actually what makes me human. And I mean, that goes with everything. I mean, God, balding. I have a little spot up there. I have a deformed ear. My nose is weird. There's all sorts of stuff. But that's what makes me human. We all have flaws. We all have hiccups in our design. And it's honestly what makes us beautiful. So Joey, I wanna bring this back to you. We've defined life. We've talked about what inspires us, what motivates us. I'm not gonna force you to talk about your flaws. We don't need to do that. But I do want to know for you, since our last episode together, what have you learned? Have you felt anything tug at your heartstrings? Because I remember you were telling me that you were trying to find some inspiration, some motivation. You were trying to find that purpose. So what have you found?
I found that pretty much my purpose is just bringing joy into other people's lives.
Okay. Yeah, just being that like happy little
Yep.
motivator. Like, and
Yep.
honestly, I think you do a great job of that, And I think that, but one fear of mine is that you would exhaust yourself. So definitely pace yourself. The joy
Yep.
you give others, you should double it for yourself. This is something
Yep.
that Adeline talked about in her podcast episode, where, and I know you listen to all my episodes, so I know you remember this
Yep.
one.
Yes, I do.
Where if you're always giving an energy out, but you're not getting any energy, what energy are you truly giving? If you're always working so hard to give joy to others, but you're not allowing others to give joy to you, how much joy are you really giving? Now, that sounds harsh, but
Yep.
for a lot of people, they don't want to accept that other people could possibly give them that good energy. For me, you know, someone tries to do something nice for me, and I'm like, no, 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 it's fine, I got it, I got it. Bro, just let someone do something nice for you. That is perfectly fine. You know, like Joey, if I can give, like last night, if I can give you a ride home, even if it's, you know, way out of the way, I'm doing something
Yep.
nice for you. And you allowing me to do that is good for you and good for me because it
Yep.
allows me to feel good because I'm giving joy to you. It allows you to
Yep.
feel good because you're receiving that joy. That refills your energy so you can give that energy to other people. Does that
Yep.
make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the driving lessons too.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
we'll flip the script here. So for you, boss man, um, what have you listened to any of my podcast episodes? It's fine if you haven't.
No, I haven't listened to any of them.
Uh,
Joey invited me to be on last night. I said, "Yeah, I'll be on a podcast."
that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Because I remember you were at the beginning of this episode, you were asking about it. Um, yeah. So a lot of it is not just expecting you to have purpose, but wanting to know what your dreams are, what your ambitions are, and what your motivations are. This is a place to talk about your dreams and really like put them out in the world. Because something that I learned in my youth is the first step to accomplishing your dreams is to tell the world what your dreams are. You know, there was something else as well. Whenever I was young, somebody once told me that for every idea you have, if you don't act on it, the idea is like a ghost. It's like a spirit. It's like an energy that whenever you don't act on it, it leaves your mind and goes to someone else's. And I'm telling you right now, that shit is crazy because I feel like that's happened to me before, where I've had a great idea, didn't act on it, and I see it happening somewhere else, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that's crazy. Um, so for you, I don't know much about you, and I want to know about you. So tell me about you. Tell me what your dreams are, what your ambitions are. Who are you?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I've been like, these past couple years just kind of been like so fixated on just surviving and how hard everything is now that like I haven't had a whole lot of time to like think about, what my dreams are. And I hear you like keep talking about it, and it's had me getting my gears turning. I know, like I said, I want to be an inspiration to my son, but like I have to show him that you need to chase dreams. Like I've gotten into a couple different hobbies and whatnot. And I'm like, hey, I want to take these as far as I can. I've gotten into martial arts. I'm hoping to one day get my black belt in jujitsu. Um, my younger brother and I, we grew up playing a bunch of racing games. I eventually want to, build something cool, take it to the track. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
No, that's
but I
literally that's incredible. So
but like these past couple months, I've been just like fixated on getting myself a permanent position. I've been working through a temp service, and like I just got hired on. I start Friday,
that's awesome.
working in apartment leasing. Yeah.
I think honestly, I think 99% of people in the world can relate to exactly what you just said. Like the day-to-day grind becomes all you can focus on, because this world is insane. It's survive, 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 survive. And then you have a kid, and then you have, martial arts, or you have, this job starting up, or you have this little motivation here, or you have this huge hiccup there. Maybe you get a layoff, or maybe you lose a bunch of money. Maybe you have to pay $3,000 in taxes one year. That literally happened to me this year. It's some bullshit.
Oh no, man.
Yeah, yeah. um, there is so much crazy, and I wanna. So there is no wrong answer to that question, but if ever there was a right answer, it's exactly what you just said, and it's exactly what Joey said in our first episode. Is exactly what you just said. I don't know. I don't know what my dreams are. I don't know what my purpose is, because let me tell you something. There is so much beauty in life, and I think that you're starting to tap into it, because you've got all this crazy stuff going, but you enjoy martial arts. You enjoy motivating your son. These little droplets can create rivers. I remember whenever I was young, I was a kid, and I didn't realize the dots were connecting. And this is something I'm going to actually, by the time this podcast airs, I'll have already had the episode, but there is an episode that I'm going to publish. It's going to be like my acting journey. And it really does start with that first initial raindrop. Whenever I was really little, I was terrified of thunderstorms. And I would take my mom's old video camera and I'd place it on the couch and I would pretend like I'm a weatherman, like, well, this just in, it's raining cats and dogs out here. And like my sister would throw stuffed animals all over me. And they're like, back to you, Morgan, for the sports. And then I'd put it over to her and she wouldn't say shit. I'd be like, all right, Morgan, you're fired. Um, I was like 7 years old whenever I did that, and that was the first initial droplet. And I go more into detail on the podcast, but there's little things in life, little rain droplets that happen, and they soothe the fire of survival, but you won't be able to see them until you take off your sunglasses and look around you. You have to slow down. And it's hard. It's pretty much impossible to slow down. I just have a challenge for you. And this is something that helped me, is find 10 minutes a day to just breathe with yourself. We all have like a sanctuary. For me, it's my car. I love just sitting in my car and just being alone. And it's hard, especially if you have kids, and especially if you have, a demanding job and all these, responsibilities. Find yourself 10 minutes a day to sit with yourself and breathe. Don't think, don't do, just exist. Just be, And what that's going to do is it's going to slow down the clock in your mind. And every little bit you're going to notice through the weeks, because it's going to take a bit. Everything takes time. It takes patience. It takes perseverance. But I believe in you. I know you can do this. It's a good challenge for you. You'll realize that for every time that you start breathing and pausing and allowing time to slow down, that you'll start to slow down too, but just enough to where you're keeping up, but you're able to look around and quite literally see the flowers, It's not an easy race. You're racing against the drive for survival. And this is a tough fucking world that we live in. It is tough. It is designed to chew us up and spit us out. But I believe in you. And I'm proud of you for even making it as far as you have. If no one's told you that, I am proud of you for that. Just hearing a little bit of your story, because I would love to have an individual podcast with you where we can talk about just who you are and your story. Because every story has meaning, has purpose, has a drive to it. And I'm going to be honest with you. Every podcast episode, it starts and ends the same way. Somebody hops on the podcast, they're nervous, they don't know anything about it, they don't know what their purpose is, they don't know what their life is, their dreams are. But they leave the podcast, and hopefully, my dream would be to inspire you, to motivate you, and to tell you the words that you deserve to hear, but maybe you've never been told, you know? And it's not because nobody thinks them. It's because we oftentimes don't slow down long enough to tell each other. And if there's anything I can motivate you to do, it's not only to slow down, love yourself, but to also share that love with others. Joey's great at it. This guy over here, he loves everybody. And he needs to love himself. You see, there's a balance. And me, I try to love everybody, but I don't love myself. I don't give grace to myself, and I have to learn how to do that. I'm slowly trying to learn how to do that. And Joey's trying to teach me. So I think you're going to do great. And I think that you'll find your rain droplets that cool the fire of survival. And I hope that the next time we're on a podcast, next time we're on an episode, because I'm giving you a call back, maybe not now, maybe not next month, but one of these days, I want to sit down with you. And I don't want to hear you say, oh, I became a billionaire overnight. I have all this money, you know,
Would be nice.
life is perfect. But I hope to hear you say, you know, life feels a little bit calmer. And it feels like, hopefully, it'll feel more gentle, you know? Because the way to get past the survival that we're stuck in this world, it's not to build tougher armor. It's not. It's actually to take our armor off and to hold each other. Life was not meant to be fought alone. That's something that everybody misunderstands. We're supposed to be in this together. You know, in most world religions, they say that men have to have troops, wolf packs, where we work together, we motivate each other, we lead each other to be better, we hold each other accountable. And I think that there's beauty in that lesson, that we stick together, we work together, and motivate each other. That's really how we're going to be successful. And like I said, we have to redefine the definition of success. It is not perfection. It is finding your finish line. And you know what? I think I found a finish line for both of you guys. Because both of you sat down with me for 30 minutes so far and just listened to me yap. That's pretty impressive. So,
No one
what?
else has ever done that before.
I mean, technically, Adeline sat with me for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and Dylan and Zach sat down with me for 3 hours. You've sat down
Yep.
with me for hours,
Yep.
countless. Um,
Never ending.
yeah. I don't want to out your name, but I do. That's why I've been avoiding saying your name, Boss Man. I'm just gonna call you Boss
Oh,
Man.
you can say my name.
Oh, Ryan. Okay, that's cool.
My name's Ryan for all.
Oh, he's been outed. He's been doxxed. It's all over.
Yep, it's all over.
He has a son, and his name is Ryan. We know exactly where you are now. Not many
Not
Ryans
like there's
with
not a
sons.
billion Ryans.
Yeah, none of them have sons. Even if there were a billion, none of them have sons. No, but I want to shift. I want to shift it away from me yapping. I want to allow you guys to yap. What are questions you guys might have for me? Like, a lot of people look at me and they're like, "Oh, Chris, you've got it all figured out." I don't. I don't have anything figured out. I'm just trying to make it. But I want to shift gears. I want to let you guys yap at me for a second. So go ahead, Ryan. I want to give you the spotlight.
So I guess I have a question for you. You know, you talk about like, you know, getting into the small steps to get something started. I know something I struggle with myself. Maybe it's just because I have ADHD. Is where like I only want to go so deep into a thing before it ceases to be interesting. How do you combat that?
Oh, as somebody with ADHD, that is, let me tell you, that is a challenge. I have like 15 different freaking projects. If I could show you my desk right now, you would be like, oh my kid, this guy has ADHD. I have boxes, I have mail forms, I have a candle, which is nice. I have a bunch of papers with a pen. I've been holding a pen this entire fucking podcast episode. So, um, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this is probably not a healthy approach, but my approach is to allow yourself to get distracted. It's actually what me and my friend Chris do, which Chris, him and I just had 2 episodes. Allow yourself to get distracted, because in the art world, because I'm an actor, so it's kind of like the art world, I guess. You make your worst product, your worst quality, worst quantity whenever you're not in the mood. So the question of how do you get in the mood is you allow yourself, especially if you have ADHD, to be distracted a little bit, but give yourself a routine. Because the way ADHD works is if we know, hey, I have to sit down with Joey and Ryan at 2 p.m. on the 29th. And I cut it. I was texting both of you, and I was like, one second.
Eh?
Because I was working on other stuff, and I was like, oh, it is quite literally that. It's allowing yourself to get distracted, but giving yourself a deadline, giving yourself a routine. Because at least for me, whenever I was a kid, I was awful at everything school related, but I was great at getting good grades because I knew when deadlines were. I knew what the grades were. I knew what the numbers meant. I knew what I needed to do to succeed. But man, I pushed that line as fucking hard as I could. I was talking in class. I was distracted. I was texting. I was everything you weren't supposed to do. I was doing it. I skipped in my sophomore year 90 days worth of class, and I was still a straight A student even during those 90 days. Yeah, the school
That's
showed
crazy
up.
because I had the opposite problem in school, man. I would show up in class and I would sit down, I'd learn everything, and then I would get home. I did not want to do the homework.
Same here.
I passed by the skin of my teeth because I never did my homework. Like, if I learned it in class, I learned it, but I was terrible about doing homework.
Yeah,
Same here.
I was the one who never paid attention in class, but then went home and did all the homework, and the homework is what saved me. The homework and extra credit. It's the thing with 10 minutes a day. And the thing about ADHD is it honestly is like a superpower. You're going to be so
Absolutely.
motivated to do all of these different things. You're going to have so many projects going on, And honestly, I think don't limit yourself. If you have an idea, write that down. Talk to me about it. Talk to Joey about it. Talk to somebody about it. Put it out there in the universe. You're going to come up with 1,000,000 ideas, and only 100,000 of them are going to be ones you actually want to do. But hey, 100,000 projects. Let's go. With the podcast, this is actually something I just talked about. Actually, no, I haven't talked about it yet. But by the time this episode airs, I will have talked about it. I have so many episodes scheduled. There's an episode coming out that will, and I'm dating this episode now. You know what dating an episode means, right? It's like whenever you're like,
pushing it back.
no, it's whenever you talk about, like if I were to tell you what year it is, and then like I'm making it to where if somebody listens to it later on down the line, they know how old the episode is, and it makes it less, it makes it less cool for them to listen to. But yeah, it's fine.
Hey, listen, there's stuff from, the 90s and whatever that's still relevant now.
Oh yeah, for sure. But whenever I listen to like Critical Role podcast and they're like, "Oh, Happy New Year, it's 2017," and I'm like, "Oh, oh, that was a long time ago." But I think that for me, for the podcast, there's something that I talked about in my last episode, and it's one of my goals for the podcast is to stay consistent, to have continuity. What's happening to my computer? Did you guys hear me just now, or did I go silent?
Yep.
Cool.
We hear you.
My computer doesn't like that I'm just sitting here for 40 minutes. It's like, sleep? When we go to sleep? When we sleep now?
I say it all the time in my day-to-day life. Technology's great till it makes your life more difficult instead of easier.
I have a simpler saying.
And
technology's a beautiful thing until it stops working.
yeah, honestly.
Yep.
It's not getting paid for it
Huh?
until it realizes it's not getting paid for its services.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I think that there's something that we learned in management where it's called rocks, pebbles, and sand. And this helps with ADHD in my opinion. So take a piece of paper and write rocks, And then a couple lines down, pebbles, a couple lines down, sand. Think of the rocks as the big things that you want to do, that you have to do. For me, that's work, that's the podcast, you know, maybe a couple of other things. Those are the rocks. The pebbles, those are the things that are like, you don't have to do them right now, but they still do need to get done. So for me, that might be, I have a bed frame that I need to go build in the other room. I have a bunch of letters here that I need to mail out, you know, bumper stickers for the podcast and, you know, the business cards I just finished designing recently. That needs to get done. You know, that's a pebble. It doesn't need to be like a constant thing. It doesn't need to be done right now, but it is important. And the sand is the small stuff. You know, I should eat sometime today. I should there's a piece of paper there. I can go clean that up. I can, you know, just the small things, very small, minuscule things that are still important for sure, but they're not like life altering. They're just like little bits and pieces. Like I could go fill my gas tank up on my car. I could go wash it. I could go check the mail. Stuff like that. Small stuff. Every single day, if you have a rocks, pebbles, and sand, and this is how you're going to figure out what you really, really want to do. And this is the trick. Because you're going to notice a consistency with your rock. You're going to go, every day I keep writing down the same rocks, the same pebbles, and the same sand. And that's how you're going to dial down what you truly see as important. Now, that doesn't mean the other things should be ignored, for sure. You should still do those things. Try them out. The beauty of ADHD is that we have minds that want to try and do everything. And that's the beauty of it, is that we can try and do everything. There's somebody that I'm going to bring into my podcast, and he's a voice actor. We're going to do an episode together, and I really wish he was here now, because gosh, he has the same story about ADHD. And I think that rocks, pebbles, and sand could help him too, hopefully. But yeah, I think my challenge of just taking 10 minutes to breathe and rocks, pebbles, and sand, that helped me. You know, I think you're already doing a great job. I think that it can be really frustrating when you're sitting with yourself and you're like, man, I want to do all these things, but I don't have the time. I don't have the motivation. I really loved doing this other thing, but then I stopped doing that. Why did I stop doing that? You know, for me, it's like playing violin. I loved playing violin. I played for 9 years. I don't play it anymore. I don't even have a violin. My ex-wife threw it away, you know? And I was looking around at violins and I couldn't find a cheap one. And I was like, man, I really wish I was still playing violin. I loved playing that instrument. But the thing is things come and go, and it makes us more creative as individuals whenever we have a creative backstory. So you have things that you've let go of, things that were your rocks, but now they're more pebbles or sand. And that's okay. That makes you more creative, because now you can use that as fuel for what you're going to do next. You know? Does that make sense? Am I making
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Am I making
And
bread
it's
and
funny you
butter over
say-
here, or
You say about, like, you know, not being into something for a while, because, like, I know for me, I've been like slacking on going to the gym and train. And I would say I want to get a black belt in martial arts, but I've been going like maybe one day a week or once every other week. And it's like, you're not going to make progress going that little.
No.
But
I'm going to stop you right there, because let me tell you something. That is your finish line right there. You have to, if you flip that switch in your mind, instead of going, you're not going to make progress because you only go once a week, flip that. I make progress because I go once a week. Boom, right there. And that's going to motivate you to go more often, to do more. You know the number one way that I've motivated myself to work out? I bought a 50-pound dumbbell and I put it by the front door. I'm not even...
funny,
if I could show you... Actually, hold on. We're in a Discord. I'm going to take a picture of this dumbbell right now, and I'm going to send it in a Discord. Hold on.
Open up my laptop.
Okay, but my apartment's a mess. Okay. No judgy. But I'm going to circle this for you.
no judgment.
Hold on. How do I...
I already know mine's worse.
There we go.
It's funny. I've been cleaning my apartment as we've been doing this podcast.
I know. I've seen you mute yourself a few times, and I'm like, "There's the ADHD." Actually, I think it happened
You're right.
around. Yeah, it happened around the same time it would for me. We have a short attention span. Let me tell you. I'm literally recording a podcast episode right now, and I'm like, "Look in the Discord, guys. Look at the Discord. There's the dumbbell. Look right there. The picture right there. There's the dumbbell. The door's right next to it."
Honestly, though, that is such a great like motivation strategy. Like I remember when I first got into it, like I bought myself a punching bag and like put it in my living room in a spot where I would like see it every day.
I'm,
And then
I'm,
like yeah, every day I'd just be like, oh, I'll throw a couple punches, throw a couple kicks when I come home
that's
from work.
that's exactly that, and that's exactly you are so smart. That is exactly how you're gonna do it. If you really want to do something, like I said, every single day, write down your rocks, pebbles, and sand, and eventually that list is gonna shorten, and you're gonna know what you really want to do. For me, it's not one thing. I'm working on podcasts. I'm still doing my voice auditions. Me and Joey are talking about doing open mics again. Because, like, yeah, with ADHD, I was doing open mics. And then I got bored of it, but I liked it. Why did I stop doing it? Because my mind was like, well, I want to go do other things. I want to go do this, and I want to go do that, and I want to go create this, and I want to go write. But then Joey, he's like, hey, we should go back and do that. I'm like, you know what? You're so right. Why did I stop doing that? You know, it really it's a toughie. But for me, I'm like, hey, I might have stopped doing open mic nights, but now I have all this time to work on my podcast. And I love working on my podcast. I love sitting down with wonderful people like you, Ryan and Joey, and talking about your
Thank you.
stories and your purpose and just life, you know? Because it's nice. And whenever I say that this podcast is as much motivating and inspiring for other people as it is for me, it really is. It's truly my inspiration for just continuing this podcast, continuing going. And the goals that I have for the podcast is that I'm able to sit down with people who might feel nervous at first, but then at the end of it, we're both feeling equally inspired. You know?
Yep.
It's not for money, it's not for fame, it's not for anything crazy. It's just to sit down with like minded people, or maybe not so, and just talk about life, about purpose, about the struggles that we go through and how we fight them. There's no right or wrong answer. None of us are here to tell the other how to live their life or how to get through their problems. We're simply here to exist together. The Walk-In podcast is very much so, we're sitting down in a coffee shop. It's cold outside, but it's warm inside, and we're just sipping coffee or whatever drink you might like, listening to lo-fi music and relaxing and just existing and enjoying that space. So, and thank you guys for coming on to the podcast, talking about all sorts of stuff and about life and love and all the fun stuff. And Ryan, like I said, I'd love to have an individual podcast episode with you, talk about your life and your journey and the ins and outs of it, because you would be surprised. People will be motivated by your story and by your struggles, and that in turn will motivate you, because a lot of times we forget that other people are human too, and they go through these struggles too, and to see each other get through them can be motivational, So yeah, and thank you, Joey, for coming back onto an episode. It's been a minute since you've been on one. I still want I want an individual one with you one of these days. Thank you guys so much for walking in with me, Ryan, and Joey, as we talked about life, purpose, and everything that makes this story of survival a little more survivable. We'll see you next week. For now, this has been The Walk-In, and I'm still your new Y-Okie host.